Professor Joseph J. Williams after more than 11 years of intense research in the subject. So now he's saying, look, this author came out, he's quoting another author. And he's saying that, look, this other author came out and did research to prove that what? The blacks in America are descendants of the Hebrews. What's a Hebrew? A Hebrew is the same as an Israelite, the same as a Jew. Let's read on. In his book entitled Hebrewisms of West Africa, which is a very good book to get to prove that the blacks in this country, in America, and the West Indians in Haiti are the real Jews, all right? Showing you that, look, we brought it out in the Bible, but you go into history and bring it out too. In his book entitled Hebrewisms of West Africa, this eminent scholar, meaning he wasn't just some vagabond off the street or some nut, he was a very eminent scholar, documents the origins and extent of Hebrew culture and religion in that part of West Africa along the Atlantic bulge of the continent, which is the ancestral home of most African Americans. So he's saying, look, when you go into a lot of blacks that lived on the West Coast prior to the slave trade, you find out that what? They were keeping Hebrew or Israelite customs. And they were living like Israelites. Why? Because those blacks were Israelites. And then you find out that what? We were captured and thrown on slave ships and brought over here to America. And we're going to go into another history book that shows that what? The reason why we ended up in Africa is not because we were born there or it's the motherland or it's the origin of all things. Because when you read the Bible, Africa is not the motherland. The land of Israel is. But we were kicked out of our homeland, Israel, in the year 70 AD, where we ran down into Africa and we were enslaved and thrown on slave ships by the Africans and the so-called whites. That's why the Africans enslaved us as a people, because we were not their people. That's why it was so easy to enslave us. And even when a lot of our people went back in the 1920s and the 1820s, they had to establish places like Liberia, Sierra Leone. They had to fight the Africans because the Africans waged war against them because they didn't want them coming back to Africa. If we're so much Africans, why didn't the Africans ask us back after the slave trade? Why? Because you American Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, you're not Africans. You're the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. You're the real Israelites. All right. And it's time for us to come back to the Bible. Let me get Deuteronomy 28:68, because we just read that there was Hebrew culture in the west coast of Africa, Israelite culture, showing you that what? A lot of those villages and cities were Israelites. And what happened? We got captured off the west coast of Africa. Is it in the Bible us coming over here on slave ships? Yes. This is Deuteronomy 28:68. And it reads, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. What does the word Egypt mean? When you look it up, Egypt is a Greek word that means bondage or slavery. And that could even be proven out of the Bible. This is Exodus 20:2. Let's prove what Egypt is synonymous with. Exodus 20:2. And God spake all these words, saying, I'm the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So now to the Israelites, the Jews, Egypt was always synonymous with bondage or slavery. Let's get Deuteronomy 28:68 again. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt or slavery bondage again with ships. How did our people get over here? From the west coast of Africa and other parts of Europe. How did our people get over here to America and the West Indies? On cargo slave ships. It was prophesied in the Bible thousands of years before it happened. By the way whereby I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. It is our homeland Israel. And there, meaning this new Egypt, this bondage, this captivity, ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, slave men and slave women, and no man shall buy you. Which buy is an old English or an old Quaker word meaning save. For example, somebody says you can't buy your way out of this one. I mean, you can't save yourself out of this one. So now with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of True Bible Teachings. And this is part 1 of the True Jews Are Black, a historical perspective. So tune in again for part 2. Shalom.